Hello, friends. Welcome to another lesson with me, Teacher Sherby. And in this lesson, we are going to talk about how to divide a whole number by a fraction. But what does this mean? This means that you have a whole number in the beginning and then you have a fraction. If we were to use directions, we would say that we have a whole number on the left and we have a fraction on the right. But what does this really tell us? Let's think of a scenario. This whole number is telling us that we have two people, could be two siblings, it could be anything, two cousins, two friends. We have two people. That represents our whole number. And our fraction tells us that they have this many pieces. So this 2/3, this is our pieces. And we're trying to figure out how many pieces or how many parts do our friends have in total. As you know, or if you know me, you know that I'm going to show you the bar model way because our goal in doing all of this is so that we can understand what we are doing. We need to make sure that we have the knowledge and we're not just solving problems because our teachers tell us to or because someone tell us that this is how we should do it. No, we want to make sure that we understand. Let's look at it. We are going to represent our two friends. Here you have friend number one, and you have friend number two. Two friends, and you're trying to see how many of these pieces do they have. But we need to make sure that we are representing our 2/3. And we know that our fraction is telling us how many equal parts to break our bar model up into. We know that we can break it up into three parts, and when we label it, each part is equal to 1/3. We did that for friend number one. Now we're going to do it for friend number two because we're trying to see how many of those parts do they have. You're going to see how many 2/3 can you take. Now let me change my color so you can see that here you have 2/3. So friend number one, 1/2. And look, don't forget to count this part. You have this part and you have this part because that's 2/3. 2/3 is 1/3 plus 1/3 put together. You have another 2/3 and look, here you have another one. How many 2/3 do we have in total? We have one, two, and we have three 2/3 in total because you're trying to see. Another way that you can do it is you can put it together because friend number one have a certain amount and friend number two have a certain amount. If we were to put it together, we're still going to split it up into three parts. So you can see friend number one, let's label it. You have 1/3 in each of them. And then let's do the same thing for friend number two, 1/3 in each of them. I like to put it together most times because it helps me to see or it helps to give me a clear picture of what I'm doing. So here you have 2/3. Let's do another 2/3 because we're trying to see how many 2/3 can we get. Here is another 2/3 and here is another 2/3. How many 2/3 do they have in all? They have three of the 2/3. And if you were to write it over, because, we are mathematicians, you can say they have three of the 2/3. And we can multiply this. You can either set your denominator as one, or you can multiply straight across. So 2 times 3 is equal to 6. Here you have your 3, and you can see that that's equal to 2. So you can see that, look, we still end up with our 2 in our answer. You still have all of these going on. The 3 is from our answer. You have 3 of the 2/3. Look, you have 2/3 here. And then remember, we started with the 2 friends, which is here in our answer. Multiply and you get the same numbers that we started with. Also, I want to show you. Let's erase some stuff. I want to show you something that is so neat, and that is the cool thing about math. There are so many ways to solve a problem. We know that the inverse of division is multiplication. So, what we can do is there's a method called the keep, change, flip method, where if you keep your 2, you change from division to multiplication and you flip your fraction to make it equal to 3/2, then you can multiply this. And let's see if we get some kind of number that we already have. So you have 2 times 3, that's equal to 6, and 1 times 2 is equal to 2. You divide those by doing 2 divided by 2 and 6 divided by 2. And you can see that 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3, and 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. We already spoke about how we can change this. If you have 1 in your denominator, then your answer is your numerator. And you see, we still end up with the same number that we had when we did our bar model. Again, there are many ways to solving a problem in math. We just have to know what strategies to use and understand what the problem is asking us. Let's look at another way that we can solve this.